Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we are going to take a look at another of the 2020 Safari LTD figures, and this is their brand new Icthyosaurus. Before we go any further into the video, I do want to remind you guys that I actually have a code that is specific to my channel, and if any of you are interested in this figure or any other Safari LTD figures currently up for sale on their website, you can use the code ANDY to get yourself 20% off on your purchase. That is incredibly awesome, and a huge thank you to Safari LTD for giving us that code here to use. So as I said, this is their newest version of the Icthyosaurus, and it is extremely nice looking in person straight away. I just received this in the mail, and I must say that I am way happier with it than I ever expected to be. At first, I was kind of thinking that this was the weakest of the 2020 releases from Safari LTD, but now actually seeing the figure in person, I may have changed my mind because it really does have an absolutely beautiful appearance to it, and something that you don't see too often associated with Icthyosaurus is it has a very orca-like paint scheme, so it looks extremely cool with that paint scheme. Kind of thinking outside the box is Safari LTD with the overall appearance of this new Icthyosaurus. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get a closer look at this figure right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt, you can see the head sculpt looks really beautifully done. You have a very nicely sculpted out nostril, along with a nicely sculpted out ear back there. You can see the mouth looks really quite nice as well, and the overall appearance of the head sculpt makes our Icthyosaurus look extremely happy, so he's quite adorable at the same time as just looking generally like a beautiful Icthyosaurus. You can see the eyes are painted with a yellowish coloration, and then we have a white eye and a black pupil, and they do look really quite nice. It's a very large pupil, also helping to kind of make our Icthyosaurus look even more adorable with his extremely large eye. You can see that as far as the skin texture goes, it's very smooth, really beautifully done, pretty much what you would expect to find on an Icthyosaurus, and you can at the same time kind of see like just how nicely sculpted out it is as far as the actual detailing goes. You would expect the Icthyosaurus to have really nice and smooth skin, but when you actually get really close, now you can kind of take in just how nice the actual skin texture is of the Icthyosaurus, and I really quite like it. I think it's quite beautifully done overall. You come down here, you have that really nice fin here sticking out, beautifully sculpted as well, although there's not really too much detail to be found within, but again, having that really nice smooth skin, it's pretty much exactly what you would expect to find. Up here you also have the dorsal fin, and I almost just knocked everything over off of my review station right there. But moving back down here into the body, once again you can see the fin down here as well, and then we lead out the length of the body out here to a really beautiful tail. Again, very nicely done, very realistically sculpted. The positioning of the body, for the most part, is pretty straightforward, but the tail has a nice turn here going, so it kind of appears as though maybe the Icthyosaurus just turned to its right, and the tail is kind of following through. I'm not entirely sure if that was the idea behind it, but that's kind of my takeaway from it. Again, this side looks really beautiful, just like the previous side did. You can really kind of see like a sense of the bone structure of the skull throughout the sculpting of our Icthyosaurus. And then you can see again, same type of detailing over here as far as the fins go. The dorsal fin and everything looks really beautiful. You can see in general the Icthyosaurus kind of shines in the light as well, as you would expect something like this to do, being that it would be a wet animal, so that's also a pretty darn nice touch, I will say, from Safari LTD. And the coloration, like I stated, is really nice, very orca-like, so it's something I've never really seen on an Icthyosaurus before, so it's really nice to see something new and fresh on a species like this that we don't normally get to see. Definitely a fan of the paint scheme. I think it's also quite nicely applied. And then if we look at the underside, you can see that the cloaca is present just for that extra bit of realism, so very nicely done as far as the sculpt and the overall appearance of this beautiful Icthyosaurus. As far as the size goes on our Icthyosaurus, from the furthest part of the tail to the tip of the snout, about 7.5 inches or around 19 centimeters. And you're not going to get too much for a height here on an Icthyosaurus, but about 2.5 inches or around 6.5 centimeters to the tip of the dorsal fin for a size comparison. Here are a few other Safari LTD figures, what I would deem probably some of the more popular Safari LTD figures throughout the years. You've got the Dilophosaurus, the Saltosaurus, and the Amargasaurus next to our Icthyosaurus, hopefully giving you a good idea that the figure does actually have some decent size. It's not anything that I would consider small, but I would say it's probably closer to like the medium size range, which is pretty much where I would place the Amargasaurus and Saltosaurus here. So definitely about a medium-sized figure, but at the same time really quite nicely sized. So this brand new 2020 Safari LTD Icthyosaurus is definitely a beautiful figure. Again, it's one of the figures that I was kind of expecting not to like so much, and it's one of the reasons why it ended up being one of my last acquisitions to review for the 2020 line, was just because at first when I had seen it I was like, you know, it looks pretty nice, but there are so many other figures that came out this year that I really wanted to get a hold of that I was a lot more excited about, so this one kind of got pushed to the side, and that is unfortunate because honestly it's really nice in person, an absolutely beautiful rendition of an Icthyosaurus. I think they perfectly captured the overall beauty of this species within this figure, giving it such a really nice, almost a friendly type of an appearance with the way that the head sculpt and the mouth area and the beautifully big eye is sculpted out. He really does look like he would be the prehistoric equivalent of a dolphin and just kind of friendly, and you could ride on his back and everything. It's kind of what he looks like, honestly. He looks super friendly, super happy, but again, the figure is really nicely done. I love that you can kind of see like the bone structure in certain areas like the skull and everything throughout the sculpt of this, but at the same time, it's continuing to remain that perfect Icthyosaurus look, and it has a very nice smooth skin type of an appearance, which is exactly what you would expect to find on an Icthyosaurus if one happened to swim up next to you in the ocean. And I also love the fact that they've really gone out of the box as far as the color scheme goes, giving this an orca-like color scheme, a killer whale type of an appearance, and that's so different from any other Icthyosaurus that I personally have ever seen. I don't know if anyone's ever painted one up like this in the past, but I've never seen it if they have, so I really do like the paint scheme. I think it's very different and really quite nice overall. As usual, when it comes to a Safari LTD figure, they have applied the paint quite nicely as well. Nothing really looks like paint on a figure as far as I'm concerned. From a step back, you can definitely see that it looks beautifully like skin color. So overall, I think Safari LTD did an absolutely tremendous job on their 2020 Icthyosaurus. So if you would like to pick this up, make sure you head down to the description where there will be a link waiting for you straight to the Safari LTD website, straight to the listing for this exact figure. And don't forget at the same time to use the Andy code. The code Andy will give you 20% off when ordering this figure or whatever figure you are interested in on the Safari LTD website. So make sure you take advantage of that. 20% off is definitely a very good deal, and there are plenty of incredible Safari LTD figures on there to pick from. So make sure you head to the Safari LTD website, use the code Andy, pick this beautiful Icthyosaurus up, but before you do all that, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.